on, go ahead.
What are critics saying right now, Olivia?
You know, I think critics are saying that we should have reached a deal. It was a huge chip to cash in to have a second summit. This granted, something that North Korea really wants, these high-level meetings, and yet we came out of it with essentially nothing. We went to the table in Singapore and really didn't get the agreement that was expected there either. And so coming to Hanoi really seemed too premature. It was too much too soon. So hopefully this is a lesson not to come to the summit table without adequate preparation.
Well, quick follow-up here, Olivia. John Bolton, in July of last year, said that North Korea could dismantle their nuclear program in a year. So we're pushing on that year mark. Do you think maybe they just felt they needed to do something to show that they were still talking to potentially have a win, and a win for 2020?
I think there was a desire on both sides to see a win. We heard just before it was announced that there wasn't going to be this joint press conference that Kim Jong-un had said that he wouldn't be coming to the negotiating table unless he wanted to denuclearize. Now, whether or not he's in fact sincere about that or just taking a typical play out of the North Korean playbook and playing hard to get, I think that's going to be determined if they're even able to continue working level dialogue going forward.
And Olivia, where does Russia play into all of this? Because certainly China and Russia are the two countries that have maintained this open relationship with the North Koreans, and certainly we have election meddling from the Russians that we're dealing with in this country. We're also dealing with the hearings yesterday. The president had to respond to Michael Cohen's testimony. There's a lot of political turmoil, and a lot of this does still kind of point at Russia and China. How likely is it that we can kind of move that needle forward really in the next 6 months or so with those two countries?
Yeah, I mean, there are many actors in the international community who have a lot at stake in what comes of this summit with North Korea, what comes from a future deal. And I think that, Russia and China certainly care a lot, but I would say that the ones we need to focus on the most are our allies, Japan and South Korea. I'm sure that South Korea is very concerned that it looks like these negotiations broke down. Seoul has been pushing for further engagement with North Korea. So I think the biggest question at the end of the day is, where do we go from here, and how is Seoul going to treat this pretty substantial setback?
Olivia, you're standing in Vietnam, an economic powerhouse right now. Do you think Chairman Kim was impressed by that?
I think that when Kim Jong-un went and visited Singapore, he certainly went out with the Prime Minister of Singapore and was really impressed. Vietnam is also impressive. But, I think there are a lot of differences between North Korea and Vietnam that may not make it a very clear parallel. It's clear that from the outset, everyone at the table was seeking some sort of peace deal or a peace declaration, which would have been a symbolic move that demonstrated that, it was the end of the war. But we didn't achieve that today. And so I think that this reveals just how complex it is to negotiate with North Korea, that it's very difficult to get to a deal. So I think that President Trump and the U.S. should continue to maintain its maximum pressure policy and finally start raising some of those human rights issues that have really been absent from the discussion. Right. We only heard them referenced in the press conference really today.
Well, and the story of Otto Warmbier, which of course is still a heartbreaking moment in American history for us to talk about. And just want to let our viewers know we're looking, of course, at some live pictures again coming out of Vietnam, Olivia, where you are, as we, of course, wait the departure of President Trump as he does head back to the United States earlier than expected.